Making disciples doesn't just involve teaching people about Jesus. In fact, you'll never make a disciple if all you do is pass on doctrine, facts, and information. At the heart of the Great Commission is teaching people to obey everything Jesus commanded. Teaching people to obey means challenging them, and that's something most of us aren't very good at. So today I'm going to give you a 3-part framework that will help you challenge people so you can be more effective at making disciples. Hey, it's Andrew with Into the Harvest, and our mission is to help you be a disciple and make disciples in the everyday places of life. On this channel, we make videos and create resources to help you live your faith in the 21st century. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out. Okay, first things first. When we talk about challenging someone, we're talking about doing it in the context of an established mentoring relationship. For instance, a coach might challenge his players. For this video, we have a discipling relationship in mind. Also, we're not talking about rebuking someone for moral failure or sin. Here, we're talking about learning how to challenge them so that they can grow to maturity. The reality is, challenging takes courage. None of us will grow to maturity unless we're being challenged. But for most of us, it's uncomfortable to challenge others. I like Paul's words in Acts 20, verse 20, when he said that he did not shrink back from declaring anything that would be profitable to the believers in the city of Ephesus. And that's the attitude that we need to have. If we know something will be profitable to those we're discipling, we need to be willing to challenge them and not shrink back. So learning how to challenge is non-negotiable if you want to make disciples. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to give you a simple 3-part framework that will help you when you challenge others. But first, here are a few key principles to keep in mind when challenging. First, the goal is to help someone reimagine their walk with Jesus. No matter where we are in life, that is our sense of normal. And so when someone is being challenged, it can often feel like you're asking them to do extra. But that's not the point of challenging. You're not asking them to do extra. You're asking them to grow into a whole new normal, a new level of maturity. Second, effective challenging inspires. It doesn't just inform. We need to make sure that we're giving people the why, not just the how or the what. Third principle is that you need to be sure that you're praying for someone before, during, and after you challenge them. And finally, try to work on being natural and relational when you're challenging someone. Now, practice makes perfect here, so don't wait until you're an expert. Start challenging people when you know that it would be profitable for their growth, and learn how to become more natural and relational as you go. Okay, so let's jump into our 3-part framework for challenging. And this is going to be easy for you to remember because you just need to hang on to the 3 A's. The first A is action. And this is probably the main difference between teaching and challenging. When you teach someone, you're passing on information. But when you challenge them, you're calling them to action. When you challenge, someone has to decide to respond or not. And that's the great thing. Even if they decide not to respond, you force them to make a decision, which is itself an action. So some good examples of challenging might be calling someone to spend time each day reading the scriptures, or challenging them to go on a prayer walk, or challenging them in terms of how they spend their time, challenging them to meet on a regular basis, some sort of activity or action where they either are going to take it or they're not. The second A is assignment. Now, an assignment involves a specific action in a specific amount of time. So an assignment needs to be reasonable but stretching, and that's what makes it a challenge. So a good example of a challenge might be if you call someone to start memorizing scripture. Well, that's an action, but it's not a very specific action. The assignment might be to memorize a specific verse sometime this next week. Now you've got a very specific action. You may even give them the specific verse to memorize that you agree on, and you've got a specific amount of time for them to memorize it in. That's an assignment. The third A is accountability. Once you've called someone to action and you've given them a specific action, you need to follow up at the end of that specified time frame to see whether or not it's happened. Someone once said that it's not what's expected that happens, it's what's inspected. And I've definitely found that to be true in my own life and in my own disciple making. Challenging someone without that third A of accountability is like driving the football all the way down the field to the 1 yard line, but not scoring the touchdown. It's a lot of work with no payoff. Now, in accountability, make sure that you're keen to discuss, to troubleshoot. It's not so much that you're trying to help someone be perfect. In fact, you should probably expect them to have a lot of starts and stops. So accountability is not demanding perfection, but it's checking back in to see how did it go? If there were problems, how can you help them overcome those problems? There may need to be follow-up challenging. There may even need to be rebuke at some point because of laziness or not following through with an agreed upon action. But remember, the whole point is to help someone grow. And it's someone who wants to grow. If someone doesn't want to grow, these 3 A's aren't going to work. But many times, young disciples want to grow and they just lack direction. And that's where the 3 A's can really come into play. When you call them to actions and you give them specific assignments and you follow up with accountability, disciples really begin to grow and flourish. So keep these 3 A's in mind. The best challenges always involve action, assignments, and accountability. And now I want to challenge you. If this video was helpful and encouraging, click the like button right now. And if you know others who might be helped by this idea of how to challenge, make sure you share this video with them. What do you guys think? Is challenging difficult for you? Do you have questions that we didn't cover in this video that might help you become a better challenger and disciple maker? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you next time.